Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Brianna Coleman, Maryland Realtor. Thank you so much for clicking on this video, and I'm assuming since you clicked, you are in real estate or trying to get in real estate, and you're trying to figure out what is actually going on. What is the business like? What do I need to know? What are the real meat and potatoes? Besides all the glitz and glam and nice cars and Lamborghinis and, you know, sashaying to the closing table, what exactly am I signing up for? So today I'm going to start a series called Confessions of a Realtor. I have done a video in the past that people are still watching and still commenting on called What I Wish I Knew. So I'm going to add that to the playlist. But this is going to be a new series called Confessions of a Realtor that you can kind of follow along and get tips. Of course, I'm not a negative person, so it's not going to be just a bunch of negative stuff about the business. I would not still be doing real estate 5 years later if it was just the blues. Okay, so one of the first things that you're going to want to do, of course, a lot of people tell you to create a social media page, put yourself on social media, post on social media, video is king and all that good stuff. But while you're on social media, you're also going to see other realtors that are doing big things. They almost have closings every day. They've got plenty of, you know, beautiful cinematography going through the homes, and they're getting thousands and thousands of views. And you can probably see on the back end that they're actually doing some of the work that they say they're doing. But you being a new agent sometimes, or, you know, going through a rough spot, maybe even seeing those things could kind of make you feel like you're not doing enough, or you're not in the right spots, or you need to do what they're doing. I feel like real estate is just like anything else, any other kind of business. Even if you're trying to make it big in like the social media influencing kind of space, you have to find your own groove. Looking at other people is only going to it's either going to motivate you, encourage you, distract you, or make you feel like you're not doing enough. Even if you try to imitate the things that they're doing, sometimes it may not actually work out for you. So there's no reason to compare yourself. I would look at other realtors, especially on social media, for inspiration. Like sometimes I look at people's graphics and I'm like, man, I want to get my graphics to kind of look like that. I want my page to be clean like that. But as far as volume and what they're doing, first, you never know what they're actually doing. The homes that they post, you don't know if it's their listings or a broker's listings. You don't know what it is. So you really don't know the whole truth behind what they're posting. That's none of your business. Everybody needs content. Everybody needs to post something. So there's nothing wrong with it. But I definitely would not compare myself to someone else that I see on social media. You don't know what they're doing and how they're getting it done. All right, number 2. Real estate is really an emotional roller coaster. You really do have to buckle up, especially when you're a realtor like me, when you really care about your buyers and your sellers, and you know how they feel after their purchase, or how they feel after the sale of the house. You really get emotionally involved in the transaction. I mean, really, it almost feels like it's your house that you're buying. And when you're representing a buyer, it feels like, for me, it feels like I'm the one that's buying the house. Like, I have to make sure everything is good, and at least they're educated and they know what they're getting into. Now, I always speak my mind. Let's just say that. I always speak my mind. If I think that something is wrong with the kitchen, or if I feel like, you're going to have to put some more money into this, or if I feel like something's not right, I always speak my mind, because my conscience is so heavy that I cannot not say something, because it's going to bother me. I want to put my head down on that pillow and I want to say, that's not right. I can't live with it. So I have to say something. Not saying that I never, missed anything, but not knowingly have I ever saw something and did not say something. I absolutely have to. Buying a house is very emotional, and your emotions definitely get tied into the person that you're helping buy. And I feel like more so on the buy side, not as much on the sell side. Of course, they're most of the time going to also be a buyer, but it is very emotionally taxing. One closing I had in June, I mean, there were liens on the property. It was so much involved. And then even just thinking about the person who owned the home before basically had gotten kicked out. So myself and the buyer was like, man, that's kind of like, it's just like some emotions involved in it. This one particular lady, we had her under contract for a house, and the sump pump was just rolling. The sun was out. and it was a sunny day, but that sump pump was just spitting out water over and over and over again. So we're looking at each other like, it hasn't rained in 4 days. Where is this water coming from? But after we backed out of that contract, we were still in the inspection period. I was so relieved. I felt like a weight had lifted off of my shoulders. So then we got under contract with the one that had all the liens. The house was beautiful. It was perfect, but it had liens and other stuff. We had to switch title companies. So it was really like a lot back and forth. But I have realized during transactions, you really have to think like, okay, what can I change? What can I make better? And if it's really nothing, you know, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You only can do the very best that you can do. And after that, you kind of have to let it go, because you really can let one transaction consume your whole day. My buyer was sweet. She was perfect. She thought she was being giving me a hard time, but she was not. She was awesome. All right, so let's move on to tip number 3, the hidden cost of being a real estate agent. Of course, you have to pay your dues. Of course, you have to pay like your Bright MLS. That's a quarterly fee, at least here for us in Maryland, for those who have Bright. I know they call it different things in different states. But, of course, you have to pay those big fees. The Bright isn't so big, but those, you know, routine fees. The things that you don't think about sometimes are things like lock boxes. Those new lock boxes, those Bluetooth lock boxes are not cheap. They are quite expensive. Now, in the grand scheme of things, if you're getting a lockbox, more than likely you have a listing coming up, or you're preparing to have a listing. So in the grand scheme of, you know, everything, it's not really that bad. But there's some things that you don't think about. Even, I don't have my sign up here, but even my little cute soul sign, that was almost $200. I will put a picture of it right here. That thing was almost $200. Now, it is gorgeous. Oh, and then also, if your broker does not offer a CRM, you're going to be paying for a CRM unless you're going to do it the old school way for quite a while and do like a Google Sheets. I think most brokers have that included, though. Both of the brokers that I was at have a CRM. I was Sampson Properties, and they have both Bold Trails and Lofty. And my old broker, they just started to get Lofty, I believe. And Lofty used to be Chime. So I think most brokers offer something. But if they don't, that's something else that you're going to have to pay for, is something to manage your clients and your customers. And you're definitely going to pay for a lot of gas. And wear and tear on your car, you definitely are going to pay for that. And then too, when you think about what kind of car you get, make sure you get a car, of course, that's in your means, but something that is definitely reliable, because you're going to do a lot of driving. Even if you want to be a listing agent, you're going to do a lot of driving. And then even open houses. So open houses, they're not very expensive, but these are just the little things that kind of add up that, you know, you don't really factor into it. Now, it's definitely good to make sure you keep a log or keep some kind of track for tax purposes of what all you're buying. So like open houses, even when you buy snacks and certain things for open houses, whatever you have to do to make sure that you are filing your taxes properly and you are getting the most bang for your buck, because there's a lot of things that you do as a realtor that you don't realize that can either be written off, anything down to business cards, anytime you have to take photos, headshots, anything like that. You want to make sure that you are getting the most bang for your buck. Now, of course, you're going to also pay for things like photography. I think most realtors, if you have a listing, you pay for your own listing photos. But I just recently heard that some people do not. They charge the seller. But I don't know about that. And of course, some people are still taking photos on their phone, which you can always tell when somebody has taken pictures on their phone. I don't care how good your iPhone or Android or your Z Fold is. People can tell when you have taken pictures on your phone. And I just think that's terrible. I really do. When I see pictures on the phone, and especially when I see you in the mirror with your phone in the listing picture, cancel it. Just cancel it. I couldn't imagine being a seller and going to see my listing of my beautiful house, and I see you in the mirror with your cell phone. I'd be pissed. I'd be pissed. For number 4, another thing you need to consider when you are a realtor, and this is really any entrepreneur, is dry spells, financial dry spells, especially if you're just starting out. Some people can get their license, boom, hit the ground running. But oftentimes that is not going to be the case. And I mean, if you start in your dual career, it's not as, you're not in like a dire situation where you have to, sell a house so fast. My advice would be, if you are someone who needs, to sell a house really, really fast, and you're not getting the leads that you want, you're not generating any leads from social media, from referrals, from sending out mail, from postcards, from different ways. If those ways are not working, then you might want to go ahead and join a team. I have thought about joining a team in the past, but I feel like that would be too 9-to-5-ish feeling for me, because I don't really want to have to sit in extra meetings and all that kind of stuff. There's so many meetings, there's so many things that you can already be a part of. To have something that you are obligated to do was just not going to be for me. The times that you are living like closing to closing is what I call it. It's not check to check, you're living closing to closing. When you're really doing well, hopefully, it continues and you get your momentum and you keep going. But sometimes, it happens to me. Sometimes you're in a dry spell when, things are either not going the way you wanted it to go, or the leads are just not coming in like you want them to come in, and you have financial dry spells. I'm not saying it's going to happen to you, but you do need to be prepared, just like any other work for yourself, entrepreneurship type of business. You need to make sure that you have some cushion. Even when you're at the point where you want to take a break, or you feel burnt out, when you have that cushion, you don't feel like you are such in a dire need to keep working and keep working and keep working. But for the most part, you just want to make sure that as you're closing, as you're getting those real estate checks, you want to make sure that you are putting some stuff to the side, that you're putting stuff aside for your bills, that you're putting money aside for your dues and other miscellaneous that I just talked about, other miscellaneous expenses. But you also want to make sure that you are putting something away in savings. Do not spend your commission checks all in one place. Please. Please. And if you don't have to use it and you don't have to tap into those savings, that's great. One of my goals right now is to save up so that I can have enough in savings and then also have enough to feel comfortable getting a rental property. That's something I really, really want to do. I was in the past, and then I chickened out because I was like, oh my gosh, I've never spent that much money that, would have been the down payment. I've never spent that much money all at once. So I chickened out. I really wish I would have so much equity, because that was in like 2022. So I would have so much equity in my house right now. But that's besides the fact. See, I'm yapping again. Even in the fall and the winter months, sometimes it can get a little slower because people are, in the holidays. Nobody wants to really move in the holidays, but also that's when you get some of the best deals. So if you're looking in November, December, January, like in the colder months, you can get better deals if you're a buyer. I was talking to a lender last month, and he was saying, oh, how's the business for you? And I'm like, the market doesn't really determine how my business is going, whether real estate is moving slow or fast. It's basically depending on what I do in my business. I'm not saying that, the market doesn't have an influence, but people are still buying homes, and it may change. So instead of being, first time home buyer heavy, it may be people who are, on their second or third home. So it just depends on, the work that you put into your business, not necessarily how the market is going. Your business goes as hard as you're willing to work, no matter what is going on. All right. So for my last and final tip for this first installment of, well, kind of like the second installment of Confessions of a Realtor, you want to consider your work-life balance. Now, this is going to look different for everybody because everybody has different familial statuses. You could be single, you can, have kids, a single mom, single dad, whatever is going on, especially the ages of the kids can determine how busy or how your work life is with your kids. Like right now, all my kids are school age kids, and they're in school. So I do have more time, during the day when school is in to, kind of do my own thing. Like I haven't even eaten breakfast this morning. Is that good? No. But if I had kids, I would have to make sure. They're pretty independent. Anyway, see, I'm yapping again. Okay, so this is how I feel about trying to have a work-life balance. When you look at people and you feel like, they have it all going on, they spend time with their kids, their business is flourishing, and nothing is getting left behind, then I feel like you're sadly mistaken. I think that true work-life balance is individual, and it's not going to look the same for everybody. One, because everybody, like I said, does not have the same kind of setup or same kind of support or same kind of help. But when you're growing a business and when you have a business that's flourishing, some days you're not going to get to do game night. Some days you're not going to get to sit down with your kids like you really want to. Sometimes the business does take over. It's kind of like it's more like a seesaw to me. Now, some people do it. Maybe the super people of the world, Superman and Superwomen of the world can do it. But for me, balance looks more like a seesaw with more than two, seats on it almost, where something is going to be taking the front seat and some things are in the second and the third rows of the vehicle. Like my kids come home around 4. They come home between 3 and 4:30. Because I know I have to stay on top of them as far as homework and what's going on with school and talking to them about school, I try to leave that time open to if I'm not showing houses and if I'm home. But I try to leave that time open because that's important to me, to make sure I talk to them about their day, what's going on in school. My oldest, I'm making sure that she's organized, that I have to sign anything, and I'm checking book bags, checking papers and stuff like that. So that time is important for me, and I feel like it's important for them, even though they probably don't care, to make sure that they're still on the right track and they know what's going on in school, so that I'm not just working so much that I don't even know what they have going on in school. I do want to make sure that I try to connect with my kids every day, especially when school is in, because it's a lot going to school. I got 1 in middle school, 2 in elementary, so it's a lot, especially middle school. It's a lot going on in middle school. So that's the time that I set aside. And the only big tip that I can give you is if you're a mom and you're trying to run a business, or even if you work a 9 to 5 or you're working a 9 to 5 and you're trying to run a business, do not make yourself feel guilty for the decisions that you have to make. The best thing that I can say is that when you're working, put your undivided attention on working, so that the time that you do spend with your kids, you're not thinking in the back of your head like, oh, I still got to do this, I still got to do this. Trying to find a balance, trying to beat yourself up for not being able to just balance and juggle everything. I just feel like it's not realistic, and you should not put so much pressure on yourself, because there's always something to do. Graham, why is my dog sitting here growling at me like this? You want to be in the video? Come on, man. Come on, man. I need you to sit down and have a seat somewhere, okay? I'm almost done with this. Oh, you just want attention. See? Where this is balance. He wants attention. You good? Now, what was I saying? Real estate is really one of those businesses where you can work. Now my mom's calling. When you're trying to figure out what balance looks like for you and what a schedule should look like and feel like to you, if you feel like the schedule is stressing you out every single day, then you need to change something. And of course, you're going to have those days where it's just like, okay, this is too much, I'm overwhelmed. And some of those days can bleed into other days. But for the most part, you want to make sure that you're doing your schedule in a way where you're not just frantically running around all over the place. My little purple light has gone off. That's my cue to end the video. Thank you so much for watching. This is just one video of the series of Confessions of a Real Estate Agent. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you subscribe and like the video. Okay, thank you so much for watching. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.
Yeah.